section in the chat. Let me know that you're alive so we can get through this. Now, the reason why I say their perception is the first sign, it is like the way people perceive things has something to do with groupthink. And the reason why I'm talking about it is people will make blanket statements without knowing the facts. And it's a shame. And when you have people in observation of what is taking place, they tend to believe the majority. And what I mean by that is if you have like 1,000 people, and 900 believe that a certain thing is a certain way, and 100 think a different way, whatever, greetings, welcome in. People will tend to believe that the 900, the majority, has the right perception or perspective. And it's not the case. It's like people are on the outside looking in with a perception that is messed up. And it's sad. When we talk about the X for the Paula in front of it, that's a touchy subject to talk about, especially with people that have not lived. If they're only at a certain age, they haven't been through enough upheavals to understand life truly. Now, that's not to say that they don't have anything to be upset about, but they haven't been through the cycles of life. If somebody at 23 makes $1 million, their perception of someone at 54 that may have went bankrupt is blah, woo, 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 bop, do, 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 but they're 23. That's just for instance. The way you think at 23 and the way you know is right at 54 is totally different. Because you done been through enough. Not everything, but you done been through enough. And so it's kind of like, this is why older individuals, right, they tend to not make judgment too much when they look at young adults, because they haven't lived. But when we take that approach, it kind of, they become egotistical. It's like you're not sharing your knowledge. Oh, come on, get up out of here. You're not sharing your knowledge, and so therefore they feel like the way they do things is the accurate way. And since they feel that's the accurate way because they touched a mill at 23. Like if you buy a home at 23, most people that buy homes at 23, they're not going to say, I went through the first time home buyers program. They're going to allow you to believe that they put all this money down. And might I add that, there's a certain level, right? When people do things for the first time, not for the first time in their family, but the first time amongst their peers, they tend to believe that they're better. But what it is they had more of a hand. Okay, they had more of a covering. They had more support. They had access to more things. Which when we bring the black sheep and all of that energy into this conversation, there's going to be two different sides. Okay, you're going to have the ones that are street smart. Then you're going to have the ones that are educated, and then you got the combo. You got the ones that have been to alternative school, extended schooling, education. Okay, they didn't experience both sides of the streets and professionalism. That field. They didn't experience that, so it's like they bring a different energy. When you only, you know, when you only been around a certain thing, a certain way, a certain belief in your life, you tend to make blanket statements. This is what I'm talking about, y'all. You know, like, it gets tiring. It gets tiring. And so I sat here, I'm telling y'all, I sat here for about an hour before I even turned the camera on. And as soon as I turn the camera on, this is happening. People come in, talking, stopping right in front. I'm just chilling. And it gets tiring. The man upstairs know what he's doing. You know, it feels like every time I do anything, he has to make it a show to prove something. I know some of y'all like, she's saying that about yes, I am. And it gets tiring. But the reason why I feel that way is because I look and I wonder sometimes, like, why? Why does he allow people to think the way that they think? To me, it doesn't make sense. They're having a whole meeting right here, like a whole business meeting right in front of me. But it's quiet, but y'all can't hear. You know, and I'm saying that's the energy today. It's a mixed energy, but I'm getting both. I'm getting the business side today, and I'm getting the street side. And let me tell you, I done been in the professional world, okay? And because I done been in the professional world, I know the connotation, the energy that comes with being in that type of environment, okay? I know the belief that they hold, and I do know what the reference is systematic things being systematic. I understand all of that energy. I do understand that this is why there's loopholes, and it's all about wording. If you don't word something the right way, it disqualifies you for something. Okay, that's throughout the whole way of life. If things are not documented correctly, it will disqualify you from a lot of things. And this is what the God, has taught me. Okay, you want something, you have to know how to ask. He doesn't tell you how to ask him. He shows you. And there we have repetitive cycles. This is why people keep making the same mistake after the same mistake until they just get so tired. Then they say, this is the way of life. This is how I got to do it because this is my circumstance. These next few readings that I have coming out are going to be telling. They don't have to be an hour long. I can get out in 5 minutes, but most will get out in 30. This is a fact. Because now I'm in this energy of explaining to you your past life mistakes and why things are the way that they are. With me, okay, with people like me, it's different. Because we are the ones that have took the brunt end of people that label and categorize you wrong. They block off opportunities from you. They, their perception of you is off. And this is why a lot of individuals that went through this uh, paradigm shift within the last 10 years, 10, 11, 12 years, felt like they were being condemned by the man upstairs because they didn't follow protocol that came from the doctrine. And that's not the truth. When I come to you and I say that this doctrine was not for you, and that's the misconception. But because it's been handed down and it's the most respected, people tend to believe that that is the way of life for them, and it's not. And this came from God. Sometimes people get a kick out of condemning you falsely because they know of your mistakes. And this happens when you divulge too much information to people you feel you could trust. family or not, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth about living. What I feel like is people in their 20s should stay out of grown folks' conversation. I'm just gonna say the whole 20s. Some of y'all might, might not, but the energy that they bring is not of experience. It's like uh, they don't realize that they are mimicking those that came before them in a nasty way, to where people expect you to fall. They know you're going to fall because at 23 you have not lived enough. So it's like we're waiting for you to fall. And because some of them, their mouth is so nasty that when they fall, when you fall, it's a celebration. There's so many because they say, you didn't did yada yada yada. I know I am nothing compared to some of the stuff that I've seen come out of these 20-something-year-old mouths. Like it, 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 it. I don't even talk in a manner to where if I were to say itch to a dude, he would take that offensively because it's me. You understand what I'm saying? The way it sounds, my hand movement, my facial expression, itch, and I mean it. That's the thing about it. But it goes back and forth, like between males. And I've talked about this before. I grew up in a time where you just didn't do that. Now it's so common. And this is why I say it starts with their perception. Their perception of you, their perception of life. There's no, not all. Well, I'm not even finna tell no tall tales, all of them. There's nothing, there's nothing, the only thing that a 20-something can teach me is a new trend. A talkity tick dance. Maybe how to work a phone. A new computer program. That's the only thing they could give me advice on. What's new? Other than that, when it comes down to life, I don't need for you to tell me anything because I'm in observation of you. And this is where it comes from. Like, where there's a divide here. When I was 8, 7, 6, there was an energy, that grandfather energy. I grew up with a grandfather that would tell me stories. Okay? He would tell me stories about the old days. It went on about no TV, no device. He was a storyteller. Okay? My upbringing is totally different. It's totally different. So I can appreciate my elders' advice. But I look now at the young males and the females, and I say, there's absolutely nothing that we can talk about because your energy is way off, And I don't get it. And a lot of it has to do with social media because they have access to making a lot of money quick. Okay? A lot of them don't have to work retail, work hospitality, restaurant. They don't have to, be in an environment where respect is needed. And you kind of grow up Like, you kind of grow up thinking that life is like that. I got money, I can talk to you whatever kind of way. Because you poor. Now, if they come from affluence, that means their parents or grandparents provided them that energy. They were spoon fed. And it usually comes back to bite you. It's like, I remember a period where the females would laugh, particularly when their sons would use cuss words at 2 and 3. Oh, he's so cute, 10 years later, he cussing out the teacher, he cussing you out and doing all kind of stuff. They'll do it if you don't teach them. And that's what I'm talking about. I remember I had a conversation with somebody that I got love for, and not in a romantic way. I got love for him because I knew him half of my life. You know what I'm talking about? And he was talking to me and he said, I don't know why he do this, that, and the third. When he come from a good background. He didn't have it like me. And he talking about his son. And I'm saying, because he got you in him. And it didn't register that that's his son. Because in his mind, he's like, no, he ain't had it like me. It didn't register that that is part of you. And that is the reason why. Greetings to all my members. Welcome to those of you who are first time viewers in here. I appreciate you. Share, like, subscribe. I talk to y'all, and sometimes y'all gonna hear me repeat things because it's important for this energy that we're currently in, okay? I was driving and a bunch of high schoolers was crossing the street, a group of them. And it was an 18-wheeler in front of me. So the girl proceeded to duck under the back part, not the cab, under the back part, where they put all the products and stuff in between the wheels. And I said, the mother in me kicked in. I said, she was probably like 15, 16. The mother in me kicked in. I stopped. I said, don't do that. It could be all bad. Your mother, you know what I'm saying? Like, how would your mother feel if you mangled all up in the hospital? You ain't got to tell me nothing. Whoop, 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 whoop. You not my mama. I said, all right. That was it right there. I said, I'm not ever going to offer my advice to any young female after this. Because that was not warranted. Okay? So that just turned me off completely. I said, that's it. Now, I do understand that my era gave birth to a lot of these 20 and 30-year-olds that I don't want to deal with. You put money into it, it makes it worse. It makes it worse. If they have not lived long enough to understand that there's a upside of life and a downside to life, then we don't have nothing to talk about. I'd rather not. There's nothing that you can show me. You iced out, all right. Your pound game is 100. I heard that 1,001 times. Ain't nothing you could tell me, no trick you could ever show me that would make me think that you have outdid the ones that came before you. And at some point I said, the type, the type of males and men that I grew up around are not on social media. They can't be. They're working. They're in the penitentiary. They somewhere. They're not here on social media because the energy, you know. I imagine there's a certain type of man. His content would be a certain type of content that I would respect that is influential on social media. I don't want to hear about who did what in 2000, and that's the reason why we got beef in 2025. I don't care. I don't want to. I don't. Matter of fact, if you're over 30 telling me this, I am not interested in knowing who you are. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Hold on, I gotta take a drink, y'all. I'm drinking agua. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop this live and start again because I got something to talk about. That is it.